Now while you're watching this video, please remember to like, subscribe to my channel, click the bell icon for notification of future videos, and share this video also. Thank you. Well, hello there, welcome back to my channel, guys. Yes, so today, as you can see, the title suggests, have the Seventh-day Adventist Church departed from the faith? Right, this is what we want to talk about today. Now, I must apologize, this video should have been posted yesterday, but you know the drill. It happens sometime where I go beyond schedule, or behind schedule should say, right? Another apology, I have left my tripod at work. COVID-19 is really wrecking my country. It so happens that I'm working on a shift basis, week on and week off, and it so happens that this week I am off and my tripod have been left at work by mistake. Right, it's today I realize that I don't have it, so I'm gonna have to go and retrieve it tomorrow. Right, so but I can't wait for tomorrow to do the video. Right, I don't want the delay, right, because I am trying to put out videos on a daily basis, and when I make days pass, what's going to happen, I may have to upload more than one video in a day, and I don't want to do that, right, guys? So having said that, just bear with me now, right? I'm using my hand to actually, oh good lord, sorry. Yes, I'm using my hand to do the video, as in to hold the camera, right? So this video is inspired by a video that I did about 2 days ago, right, responding to an Adventist, right? The title of that video, would Jesus join the Seventh-day Adventist Church, right? And the speaker gave some arguments as to why he believes that Jesus would join the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I refuted it, showing that Jesus would never join the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And what he was basically trying to do, right, was to basically prove that Seventh-day Adventist is a true church, and that all other faith, as far as he is concerned, has departed from the faith, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a clip that I'll take from that video, right, after which we'll have our discussion. So with that being said, check out the clip.
Said, thou art Petrus, but upon this Petra, upon this rock, upon this boulder, upon this stone that shall not be moved, I'll build my church, singular possessive pronoun, my church, not plural churches. I want to allow that to register. Jesus has said, upon this Petra, this rock that cannot be moved, I'll build my church. Singular possessive pronoun, my church, not my churches. Implicit in that is that Jesus has one church. And the gates of hell, try all they might, the gates of hell cannot prevail against it. Upon this rock, you can eat anything and you can drink anything. All you have to do is pray and bless it and eat it and drink it. I suppose they are simply saying you can just bless the drunk crow and the dead dog and eat them. I suppose they are saying go bless some dirty water running on the street side and drink it. All they are saying, I suppose, just go and bless some flies and some mosquitoes and eat them. Mash down that lie. That's not what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches us good health practices. Go over there in Leviticus chapter 11. I suppose evangelist Michael Henry will expose that sometime next week. But understand, it's in the word that God gives us directives over there in Leviticus chapter 11. Read it for yourself. Don't eat no pork, no eat no jankro, no eat no duck, no eat no crab, no eat no shrimp, no eat none of them things that God tells us clearly what we are allowed to eat and what we're not supposed to eat. But there are churches that are promoting against what God has said.
Now, as you would have seen in the clip, right? You would have seen me quoted 1 Timothy chapter 4, right? Stating that I'm going to do a video on 1 Timothy chapter 4 and show you how the Seventh-day Adventist Church actually departs from the faith, right? So with that being said, let us have a look at it. I shall be reading from two separate translations. That is the NASB and the NLT simultaneously as the Spirit bids me to. So we'll be reading from 1 Timothy 4 verses 1 to verse 6, right? So this is what it says using the NLT. Now the Holy Spirit tells us clearly. Sorry guys, remember I'm in an awkward situation right now, so please forgive me. Now the Holy Spirit tells us clearly that in the last times some will turn away from the true faith. They will follow deceptive spirits and teachings that come from demons. These people are hypocrites and liars, and their consciences are dead. They will say it is wrong to be married and wrong to eat certain foods. But God created those foods to be eaten with thanks by faithful people who know the truth. Since everything God created is good, we should not reject any of it, but receive it with thanks. Verse 6, final verse. If you explain these things to the brothers and sisters, Timothy, you will be a worthy servant of Christ Jesus, one who is nourished by the message of faith and the good teaching you have followed. So two things persons who depart from the faith will do. Pardon the ad that comes up. Sorry about the noise, guys. The link, the app that I'm reading from, it just went off just now. So two things according to 1 Timothy that tells us what persons who depart from the faith will do. One, they will say it is wrong to be married. And two, they will say it is wrong to eat certain foods. Now what we want to do is to identify, before I even get to the marriage part, identify what foods is Paul talking about here. What foods is it saying that they are going to say it is wrong to eat? Certainly, based off what you would have listened from that man, it certainly cannot be foods that are classified as clean foods, according to Leviticus 11, which he quoted from, because you know that in the Old Testament they had to adhere to certain dietary laws, right? So there is no way anyone would forbid persons to basically eat those foods, right, under the Old Covenant that is said to be clean foods. Even though Seventh-day Adventists, they condemn basically eating clean foods. They condemn eating clean meat, then so to speak. Animals that God said is clean to be eaten, Seventh-day Adventists, no. They are the only group so far that basically says that one shouldn't eat no form of flesh. So not only do they condemn eating what they would call unclean under the Old Covenant, unclean meat or flesh, they even condemn clean flesh too as well. And I'll put the quotes, try to squeeze it at the screen. You'll see it on the screen, and or in the comment section, so look out for it. They condemn both, right? So obviously based on the context, it's talking about food. Certainly one would condemn vegetables and so forth. There is no church group out there that condemns vegetable. That was the original food that we had, so there'd be no reason to condemn it. The only type of food there would be a reason to condemn is foods that were considered unclean foods under the Old Covenant, right? Now these foods under the Old Covenant that were said to be unclean foods, right, is a law that was stipulated in by Moses, the law of Moses. Now I know Seventh-day Adventists will say that this was from the time of Noah, but nothing can be further from the truth than this. For Genesis 9 verse 4, Noah was told that every living thing that moved he should eat. Every living thing. So what they would consider clean and unclean, Noah had all things to eat, every beast, because vegetation was destroyed, right? So it was when during the time of Moses, they were given these dietary laws to not eat certain flesh. Right? And notice in Leviticus 11, I think it's verse 3 or 4, God did say it is unclean to you. That is Israel, speaking to them, it's unclean to them. So the minute God limits it to Israel, it is saying to you that those things that God made distinction of and say unclean, they were not naturally unclean in and of itself. They were just unclean unto Israel. How do I know this? If it was a case where it was unclean naturally, he would have said it was unclean. Just as though in Genesis 9, right? The covenant, the covenant that God made, right, with the token, the rainbow, and it says it's a token between me and you, Noah, and every living creature on the earth. So the fact that God said and every living creature shows that it wasn't limited just to Noah alone. But God didn't say in Leviticus 11 it is unclean to you, Israel, and every living creature or every living person on the earth. No. Right? The dietary laws was limited to the children of Israel. And the fact that it was limited to the children of Israel, it simply means that it was not naturally unclean. Right? And this is the reason why Romans 14, Paul says there is nothing unclean in and of itself. And Paul was speaking rightly there when he said nothing unclean in and of itself. Why? Because as you know, in the New Testament, they all build their doctrine using the Old Testament. When they were writing their epistles, the New Testament wasn't compiled as yet. They had to use the Old Testament to build their doctrine. So Paul would have been well aware of what I'm saying to you, that those dietary laws, they were limited to Israel, and this is why he precisely said nothing is unclean in and of itself. Why? Because God says it is unclean to Israel, not all the world. So if it is unclean just to Israel, it simply means that in reality, nothing is unclean in and of itself. But God pronounced certain things unclean unto Israel. Right? So back to 1 Timothy chapter 4 now. 1 Timothy chapter 4 now. This is why it says they will say it is wrong to be married and wrong to eat certain foods. But God created those food to be eaten with thanks by faithful people who know the truth. So we identify what foods could possibly be, persons could be condemning people from eating. It has to be flesh. It can't be vegetables and fruits. It has no one. I don't know of anyone that condemn eating vegetable and herbs or vegetable and fruits. Right? So it has to be flesh, and it would more likely be unclean flesh. So Paul is telling you that God created them to be eaten with thanks. Right? And he tells you that everything that God created is good. In verse 4, since everything God created is good, we should not reject any of it, but receive it with thanks. When God created those beasts that they say is unclean and the ones that is said to be clean, notice in Genesis 1, each time God said, and God saw that it was good. So there is no creature that God made that is bad. However, some of those beasts that have been said to be unclean, they are also unhealthy. Right? Some of them that were said to be unclean were also unhealthy, but not all of them. For shrimp, while it is said to be unclean, I'm just giving an example, there could be several others. While it is said to be unclean, if you do a research now, you'll find out that shrimp is actually a clean seafood. Even though, not clean, it is a healthy seafood. Even though on the Old Covenant, it is said to be unclean. Now, I'm not going to go deep into this. I have 2 videos where I talk about foods and so forth, where I state in those videos more detailed the whole argument of unclean and clean. I'll post it in the comment section for you to check it out, right? So with that being said, based on 1 Timothy chapter 4, we can clearly see that so far the Seventh-day Adventist Church is guilty. Why? Because they command persons to abstain or not to eat certain foods. Right? We New Testament believers are not guilty in this, because we don't condemn persons from eating any food at all. So Seventh-day Adventists, they fit this classification quite well because they have departed from the faith in that they don't adequately understand the difference between the old covenant and the new covenant. So they have departed from the faith and is commanding people to abstain from foods which God created to be received with thanksgiving. Not only this, the whole aspect of forbidding to marry, they are also guilty of this as well. Yes, they are guilty of this as well. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to post a link in the comment section for you to check out, and you will see the many different quotes where Ellen White forbids persons in her day from marriage. She forbids intermarriage, that is interracial marriage. She forbids marriage between persons of different age where there's a wide age gap. She forbids persons from getting married, right, if they are not of Adventist faith, right? And she also forbid them at one point in time in getting married. Not explicitly, you know, but she discouraged them by saying that the time is almost finished and so it doesn't make any sense for anyone to get married right now. She also discouraged persons who were in a particular type of work. They do a particular type of work in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. She discouraged them from getting married because it may take up too much of their time that should be devoted to the Lord. You understand? So in many different instances, she discouraged marriage. Friends, this is not a coincidence. The leader of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, they don't want to admit it, you know, but Ellen White is the leader of the church. She has departed from the faith, and because she have departed from the faith by giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of demons, she now is the person that they say is a continuing and authoritative source of truth. So if she's a continuing and authoritative source of truth, right, something that should further help them to arrive or reach truth, it simply means that Ellen White is the person who basically, through whose writings Seventh-day Adventists actually adhere to. So if she has been bewitched by doctrine of demons, and Seventh-day Adventists are reading her writings, right, which is colored by those same doctrine of demons, you know what's going to happen? Just as she has departed from the faith, in the same way, they all will ultimately depart from the faith like her as well. Right? So I agree with what the young man is saying, that the church is one, right? Because we are all joined to one body. However, many who say they are a part of the body have in reality departed from the faith. And my friends, as you can see what I presented, Seventh-day Adventists have clearly departed from the faith, right? And hence, this is another reason why you should avoid being a Seventh-day Adventist. Because when I say that it's a cult, you know, persons would think that I actually hate it, but I don't. I'm just speaking the truth. Seventh-day Adventist is not a legitimate Christian church. Not because of their behavior, no, because none of us are perfect. But because of the doctrines, the things that are taught in the church, the system and the way how they go about doing things, and also because of the reason that they have a false teacher, Ellen G. White, through whom they actually study the Bible. Right, friends? So I end this video. You can give me your take on what you consider about these things that I reveal and post it in the comment section. Now I have to say a big shout out to Elsie Thunder Lariston, because the reason why I'm late on this is because I was trying to find some source about Ellen White and marriage, and yep, he's the person that I linked and he gave me the information. So thanks to him, I'm able to put out this video, right? So with that being said, bye bye now.